Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take something fascinating you've sent us and, well, we dive deep.
Yep, explore all the interesting angles.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're looking at something from the world of Jackie Chan adventures.
That's right. Specifically, the Rat Talisman. Our source is its wiki page. Lots of good stuff there.
Ah, Jackie Chan adventures. Great show. Jackie, magic talismans, action, humor,
Hmm.
drill. 12 talismans, each with a power.
Exactly. And this rat talisman, its power is animation, bringing inanimate objects to life. Sounds simple, maybe?
You'd think so, right? Like standard cartoon stuff?
But looking at the wiki, it's actually, surprisingly specific. There are rules, real logic behind how this magic works.
That's what caught my eye, too. It's not just waving a magic wand. So yeah, our mission today, understand the rat talisman, where it came from, what it does, and crucially, what it can't do. All based on that wiki info.
Okay, let's jump in. Origins. Where did this animation power start?
Well, the power itself, the ability to animate things, it originally belonged to the big bad demon sorcerer Shendu.
Shendu. Okay, makes sense. So it was one of his powers.
Exactly. The story goes, this ancient wizard, Lo Pei, fought him.
Right. Low pay. Good wizard.
And Lo Pei managed to turn Shendu into a stone statue. Didn't destroy him completely, though.
So, trapped him.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But the act fractured Shendu's power, scattered it into 12 talismans.
Ah, okay. The 12 talismans we know from the show.
Precisely. And each one got a different piece of his power. The rat talisman specifically represents that power of animation, bringing the motionless to life.
Got it. Demon power. Broken up, put into collectibles. Classic adventure setup. So how did this talisman, the rat one, actually get found? Buried treasure. Ancient temple.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no, the wiki says it turned up, well, somewhere pretty ordinary.
Oh, do tell.
An auction house in San Francisco.
Wait, really? An auction house, not some mystical hidden cavern?
Nope, just a regular auction house. It was actually embedded inside an ornate lamp.
A lamp. That feels so random. But I guess it shows how scattered these things really were.
Exactly. They could end up anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
attached to anything. Makes finding them trickier, I suppose.
Okay, origin clear. Power source identified. Now, the fun bit, what exactly does it do? You just point it at a chair and it starts walking.
Maybe. The core power is animation, yeah. When an inanimate object absorbs or comes into contact with the talisman, boom, it comes to life.
Simple enough on the surface, but you mentioned it gets more complex, like the objects take on characteristics.
Right, it's not just about moving around. The wiki gives a great example. The Super Moose doll.
Oh, yeah. What happened there?
When the talisman animated the doll, it didn't just become a walking toy. It actually got the powers and even the personality of the character, Super Moose, from the show within the show.
So the doll became the hero it represented. That's actually pretty cool. It follows the object's inherent nature, kind of.
Exactly. But then there's another case that goes even further. The Lo Pei statue.
The statue of the wizard who defeated Shendu. What happened when that got animated?
It wasn't just a moving statue. It became, for all intents and purposes, Lo Pei himself. It had his knowledge, his memories, his scroll magic, even his original mission.
Whoa. Okay, that's a huge leap from a toy getting cartoon powers. That's like full reanimation.
Pretty much. It shows the potential depth of this animation power. It's not always just superficial.
Right. But there have to be limits, surely. Magic always has rules, especially when it seems this powerful.
Definitely. And the wiki points out a few key ones. First, even if they look alive, these animated objects aren't necessarily, organic, flesh and blood.
What does that mean in practice?
Well, their durability seems linked to what they were made of. Remember the Super Moose doll? Apparently it got torn apart pretty easily.
Okay, like a regular doll would.
Yeah. But then the animated Lo Pei statue, it survived being crushed. So still stone, essentially, even though it was alive and thinking.
Interesting. So life doesn't automatically mean biological vulnerability. It retains some original properties. What else?
It also doesn't seem to override other fundamental magic rules in the show's universe.
Like what?
Like Shendu himself. Even when the rat talisman animated his statue form, he still needed all 12 talismans to regain his full power and body. The animation didn't give him a shortcut.
Ah, okay. So it grants life, but it doesn't break other pre-existing magical requirements.
Precisely. Another example was Ikazuki's mask. He's one of the Oni generals.
Right, the Shadowcon guys.
Yeah. When his mask was animated by the talisman, The mask itself still needed someone to wear it to actually summon the Shadowkhan warriors.
So animating the mask didn't give the mask the ability to use its power independently. It just made the mask alive.
Seems like it. It animates the object but doesn't rewrite its core magical function or requirements.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Keeps things from getting too chaotic, power-wise. Now, didn't the wiki also say something about animating only one thing at a time?
Yes, that's generally the rule. Typically, the rat talisman's power is focused on animating just one inanimate object per use.
Generally. Sounds like there's a loophole coming.
Well, an exception anyway. There's this character, Mickey, described as a noble animal.
A noble animal.
Mhm.
Okay. And Mickey could do what?
Mickey was apparently able to use the rat talisman to animate multiple objects simultaneously. The wiki mentions him animating several Super Moose dolls and a Quetzalcoatl statue all at once.
Whoa, okay, that's interesting. Why could he do that? Does noble animal mean something specific in the show's magic system?
The wiki doesn't elaborate much beyond stating he's the exception. It definitely hints at maybe some deeper lore there about certain beings interacting differently with the talismans, perhaps something about nobility or inherent goodness.
Yeah, it could be a whole other deep dive topic. So this talisman sounds pretty important. Did it show up much in the series?
Oh yeah, quite a bit, especially early on. The wiki lists appearances right from season 1. It's in a flashback in Project A for Astral,
Okay.
and it features in Tough Break, The Rock, and The Tiger and the Pussycat, all season 1 episodes. So definitely established early.
Was it just an early plot device or did it stick around?
It stuck around. The wiki also notes an appearance much later, season 5, episode 13, so it clearly remained relevant throughout the show's run.
All right, let's wrap this up then. Our look at the Rat Talisman wiki shows us, well, it's the power of animation.
Right, originating from the demon Shendu, found surprisingly mundanely in an auction house lamp.
And when used, it brings inanimate objects to life, sometimes just making them move, sometimes like with Super Moose or Lupe, giving them characteristics or even full consciousness based on what they represent.
But with key limits. They aren't truly alive in a biological sense. Their durability might depend on their original material.
And crucially, the talisman doesn't override other magic rules, like needing all 12 for Shendu or needing a wearer for Ikazuki's mask.
Plus the general one object at a time rule, with that curious exception for the noble animal, Mickey.
So even in a fun, action-packed cartoon, you find this unexpected internal logic, a magic system with defined boundaries.
Exactly. It's not just magic does whatever. There's thought behind it, which is always cool to see.
Which brings us to that final thought for you, listening. This whole idea, animating the inanimate. Even in a fantasy context like this, what does it make you think about?
Yeah, what are the weird side effects? The ethical questions, maybe. If you animate a statue of a person, is it the person? What happens if you animate something dangerous?
And maybe, just maybe, does this fantasy concept touch on anything real? Think about artificial intelligence getting more sophisticated, robots becoming more lifelike. Are we, in our own way, trying to, well, animate the inanimate?
It's an interesting parallel to consider, definitely. Something to chew on after this deep dive.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.